Wow. Okay. I have got to do something with my hair, Lisa. All right. Hi.
I had to, I got up and showered and did all that stuff, just for the day. And then it was like one client after the other. Doesn't matter how organized I am, doesn't matter. They just wait till the very last second. And uh, so
I,
anyhow, I just have two clients I have to do and one left for the restaurant and then I'm done. But
I'm,
uh,
think-
so
I'm, I know we're recording, but I'm thinking as much as you're working, you're going to buy like $1 million house soon.
I know that's what I was saying to myself the other day. I'm working so hard and have nothing to show for it.
I really thought you'd have the $1 million house.
Oh, I don't have $1 million yet. So how's Megan doing?
Oh my gosh, Lisa. So I've known for 2 weeks and I was sworn to secrecy and I've been like sitting on my hands, not being able to tell people what's going on because they have these numbers where they have to make sure the numbers are high enough. And you probably know that.
Yeah, I
And
went through that with Spencer.
okay. So you know this.
Yeah, I
Okay.
had to go in every single, how often did I go in? I might have gone in weekly to get my levels checked, my hormone levels
Right.
checked.
Right.
And
So we go to Mexico to get our hormone levels checked. And so they were going up and everything was good, but I'm the only one who knew. And so we had everybody here on Saturday and she had little gifts like the fun uncle for Jeffrey and, all this stuff. And they opened up the gifts because they had no idea. And Jeffrey's yelling like, oh my God, because I was so down because I couldn't say anything. They thought it was bad news. It's like,
Janet, we have a friend, Colleen and Sue and I have a friend, Sharon, who just had her first grandchild. And she was so excited posting all these pictures. And then her daughter-in-law and son said, please don't post any more pictures without our permission. So she did end up creating a group chat thing so that she can share pictures with some people because she can't bear not to share the pictures.
yeah, people are so private. I'm not the grandmother type. I mean, I love her dog. I don't know how I'll be with kids, but I'm just know this is what she wants. So it's
Yeah.
really good.
Oh, well,
We miss you so much. So you really have to miss the whole thing.
I can stay for just a little bit. So I told him that I'd be there by around 10:30. So I have to leave about a quarter after 10.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah. So I'll be there for about 15 minutes or so. So that's okay.
I went through my website and I found a recording of a meditation I did on balance. So I listened to it while I was doing my yoga and I went, oh, I can do that one because it's kind of a fun one about the little child and the old soul and who we are trying to get all the messages together and understanding who we
Okay. Well, then with that in mind, let me pull up the Maryland's protection prayer just in case we need it. I haven't heard from Marilyn, so I don't know if she's going to be here or not.
I sent her a text and got nothing back. Hey, Marie.
Uh, Marie, I was just telling Janet that I've got to leave today. It's the last day for tax stuff for 1099s, and I had two clients that dragged their feet until the very last minute, and so I've got to go. But I'll get started with Janet with the meditation, and then I'll probably leave in the middle of meditation. So I'm just pulling up Marilyn's protection prayer right now because we haven't heard from Marilyn today. So I don't know if she'll be in here, be here or not.
Okay.
How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. Tomorrow, Les, my husband, was moving out, so it's been a rough weekend.
Oh my gosh, I'm not sure. I don't know what words to use,
It's part of the process. I've been learning there's a whole process to this.
Where is he going to? Do you know?
He's moving to San Diego Vista.
Marilyn's here.
Oh, Vista. Okay. But Colleen's family is from Vista. So yeah, and so I'm very familiar with Vista. And there's Marilyn.
I'm so happy to see you. She's gonna bring Harry in too so that we know he's alive. Harry,
Harry.
Like that.
Yay. Harry, you look like your heart's beating just perfectly.
Yeah. But yeah, we're okay.
Good.
And so you're feeling better with it now, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
You
well,
had no idea that's what was going on?
still trying to work on sleeping, but yeah.
Yeah, it's still, we're still adjusting.
Yeah, does it keep you up at night? I
At times, yeah.
Huh? Is that just because, why is that?
Well, that's the question.
Well, maybe it's just the fear of what happened, you guys. After we heard the severity of what you went through, that post-traumatic stress can keep you on super alert. So that might be what's going on.
But part of my stress is I don't remember one thing about it.
Good for you. Good for you.
It's
And you-
really just really weird feeling to have
Yeah.
that and then have lack of awareness completely.
Wow. I'm so happy to see your face, Harry.
And Marilyn, both of them, I mean, whoa.
Yeah, Marilyn too, but yeah, I'm
Henry's like, yeah.
Sight for sore eyes. How's that?
And you know, Donna just went and did this a few years ago.
Oh.
So yeah.
Exactly. And he had no idea also how much his body and mind had been impacted by the steadily decreasing supply of blood that he was getting until he literally passed out driving.
Wow.
That's oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Marilyn.
Oh, no, I was going to say all the things, we had all these concerns where he was getting spacey and couldn't remember things, and it didn't feel like dementia. It was like too spread. It didn't feel like that.
Yeah.
And that's totally what this is. Like all the organs in the brain weren't getting enough oxygen a lot of the time.
And
Wow.
was it hard to do? Was it hard to walk upstairs or any of that stuff because his heart rate was so low? And
Oh, no, that's all good. I still had been going for walks in the neighborhood, a 1 mile walk, a 3 mile walk, stationary bike, all that stuff. No problem.
But you were getting lightheaded and kind of weird, right? That thing in your head.
Not to my knowledge.
He was weird. No, that thing that happened, it happened
Yeah,
right
it was
before.
only at night. I would get kind of a frenetic feeling in
Right.
my head. I couldn't relax. I felt like I have to get up and walk. It was just this little kind of little buzzy, weird little feeling that made me want to stand and walk, where I couldn't just relax.
Huh.
So we think, and what we've come to learn is that a lot of it, Harry has both AFib where it goes too high, and I forget what the other one where it goes too low. So a lot of what was happening with that antsy feeling was literally the heart going nuts, and it would go so low that he would need to walk to bring it up, like the body was trying to help. So when we were in the hospital, they were trying to figure out what caused it, and his heart rate dropped to 20. He said, "Oh, I'm getting that feeling," and his heart rate dropped to 23. And I ran out in the hall screaming, coming, you know, and they went, "Oh my God, we get it now. That's what happened," you know. So yeah,
Wait, and how's your hand, Marilyn?
it's attached.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we
It
can
is.
ask
So
for it.
good.
All right, I'm going to move on. But good to see you all. Happy
Bye, Harry.
to say
Good to see you, Harry.
we're good to see you. Lynn has is it okay to say Lynn? Lynn has a pacemaker also. So if Harry ever wants to talk to you about that, right, Lynn?
Oh, definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I've had one battery change, so maybe 6 years, 5 years.
Wow.
I love it took away my AFib. I've had like lots of problems with my heart, with the electrical system. And so my heart rate was 44, and I was telling my doctor, I think my heart is stopping. And luckily it did it well. You know how it never acts up when you're at the doctor's office. Well, I was all hooked up to everything, and I said, okay, it stopped. And he's like, oh, it did. And so, yeah, so I got a pacemaker like quickly after that, and it vastly improved my life. And you don't even notice it's there. And yeah, it's wonderful. You just have to get the battery changed some people, depending on how many chambers of your heart is paced, will depend on how long your battery lasts, but it vastly improved my life.
That's what they said. Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you have trouble sleeping like Harry's having? No?
Last night I
You don't
did.
have trouble sleeping.
No, I have trouble waking up.
God, that's not a problem you want.
I get comfy when I'm sleeping.
Wow.
Yeah, well, congratulations on the pacemaker, Harry and Marilyn. I'm so glad your hand's better or getting on the mend.
Yes, we're definitely on the mend.
Yeah, pacemaker's wonderful. It's thank you God for modern medicine and pacemakers. It'll improve his life
You see?
beyond measure.
I know all the doctors across the board are like, all these symptoms you've had, this is going to take care of that. You know, until, you know, because again, he has no recollection of the noise, the crash at all. So they did brain scans, they did heart attacks, you know, it's like, until you rule that out, it's terrifying.
And all the tests were fine.
And all the tests. So when he has these episodes still now, because that's the thing, it's lack of sleep. We haven't slept more than a couple of hours at a time. But the pacemaker is hooked up, we call up, you know, and they tell us there's no incident. So we know that whatever's going on isn't a cardiac event because of the meds.
Right.
So
yeah, they actually call me when I've had like a bad little spell. And it's always when I'm sleeping, and they'll call me and say, how are you feeling? And
Really?
I feel great. Why?
Oh, God.
But because your monitor will send it to the doctor's office and
Yes.
someone reviews it, but he'll completely forget he has it.
Good. See, hear that?
You know, with the post-traumatic stress, Marie or I could help him with that. So please, or Alona, anybody here that you want to ask about that. I'm sure a lot of going on.
I was just going to mention, even though he doesn't have recollection, trauma embeds itself at a cellular level. So even though in his mind he doesn't remember, his body remembers.
Right. And he's been listening, and it's interesting because we just talked to the doctor about, you know, having some therapy around this by himself and together. And Harry was talking about
pre-traumatic stress. I already had that. So.
Right. And it's funny, 'cause I had given the doctor the book, and she just said, well, talk to one of your therapists. They're going to be better than anyone I could come up with.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there's a really good book. It's called The Body Keeps Score. That really talks to the somatic and how our bodies, you know, keep a hold of trauma, even though we may not be consciously aware of it.
I think that's really, yeah, of course.
But Marilyn, Harry's doing the right thing. Walking, it does wonders. That bilateral movement really helps move whatever, even though he doesn't have that awareness, his body remembers, and the walking, the bilateral movement makes a world of difference.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, it's good. No, it's good. It's like the body wants to self-correct.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, some of the nights we're so delirious, we just move right from pacing to dancing. I mean, what can you do, you know?
I'm gonna go.
We're frightening the children.
You can walk by your house late at night.
Harry doesn't like all this attention. This is too much.
He's sneaking off.
So, and Marie, can we get back to you? How can we support you today? Is there anything we can do?
I'm just working through the process. I've been through difficult things in my life, and this has definitely been the toughest.
So for those that don't know, today or tomorrow, actually, right, your Marie's husband will be moving to his own place.
Oh,
So, this is a transition, and I think a lot of us have been there, so I can feel it deep in my heart. So sending you huge hugs, and we'll get through it.
Yeah.
Together. We can do this.
I'm really learning that even though you love someone, letting go sometimes is the best.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's the letting go, Marie, that's so hard. And then tomorrow or whenever the first morning is that you wake up and you're free, you might start singing and going, ooh, what's this about? You know?
You know what? I so hope that's the case, because this weekend has been super tough.
Aww.
And so I do appreciate you guys being so supportive, because this to me feels worse than a death.
Wow.
Marie.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being supportive, because I need it right now.
Well, we are definitely in our thoughts. We're sending huge hugs through the screen right now.
Yes.
Some of us are close enough if you just want us to come over and sit there and watch TV with you or something.
Yes.
Please
You know what? Ilona has been, been amazing. And that's one of the things that I have to learn to ask.
Yeah.
And that's one of the toughest things. So I may just do that because I feel like I need that.
Just a phone call away, Marie. Just text your address and we'll be there.
Yeah, please feel free to call any of us, Marie. Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Thank
do
you.
it. Janet is going to lead us on a little meditation today, and I won't be able to stay the whole time. So Janet's going to run with this. And Adele just texted or emailed and said that she will be here, but just a little late. So she'll probably log in while we're doing meditation today. And then Marie, I hope you feel up to helping us get through this first agreement. And I will tell you, just as before we start our meditation, I was at a friend's house, and she's a really close friend. I was her maid of honor in her wedding, and she's always just been one of those people. She'll tell you she's not a very bright person, but to me, she's got one of the biggest hearts and also intuition that she listens to that's just astonishing to me. However, she's got young kids, and so she's involved with some of the moms at school, and they're super gossipy and really kind of nasty, actually.
That's what we're talking about today.
Well, and I said to her, and she was going on and on and on about it, and I said, I can't tell you what this is doing to me right now. This energy of these horrible, horrible people is terrible for me, and it's terrible for you. And let's just start talking about puppy dogs or something else. And so I told her about the book, and I told her about the first agreement. And I said, you have to think what you put out is what you take in. And so she was like, oh, okay. So I don't know if, it's harder for her because, like I said, she's got school-aged kids. So she's dealing with, you have to kind of belong to that mom group, despite, the fact that it's good for you or not. But anyway, I was glad that I could put it into action. It made me really happy.
You did a great job, doing it a one statement synopsis of that, because that's exactly what it is what you put out is what you're taking back in.
See, I am figuring this book out. Yay! So Marilyn, do you feel up to doing our protection prayer today?
Oh, absolutely. I've been doing it a lot. Okay. Just feel the space you're in. Feel your fingers, feel your toes, feel your breath going in and out. Focus on the heart. We clothe ourselves in a robe of light composed of the love, the power, and the wisdom of divine consciousness. We wear it not only for our own protection, but also so that those who see it or come in contact with it will be drawn to God and healed. Please, divine consciousness, let your light permeate us, fill us up, emanate from us, reflect back to you and to each other, and let us always remember that we are the light and the love. And take a breath, and there it is.
Thank you, Marilyn. I know we have a lot to talk about, so I'll try to make this a short meditation just to center us. Taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Being aware this meditation is about balance. And so many of us give at a huge amount, but may not be that comfortable in receiving. So as you take your breath in, imagine receiving abundance, fun, adventure, love, peace, radiant health, healing, light, and then breathing that out to the world, which I believe you all do so well. But it's that breath in that we are here to give, but also to keep that cycle of breathing in all the goodness, all the abundance, all the light, and breathing it out. You may be aware of the space around you, but also the space within you. We are all connected to the air, to the water, to each other, to the earth, to the universe. So today I'll take you on a journey to a playground where you're going to meet, once again, your old soul and your little inner child. So at this playground is a teeter-totter, seesaw, whatever you call it. And you see your ancestors and spiritual guides helping and guiding your old soul to one side of the teeter-totter and your little child to the other side. And they're going up and down in a way of just enjoying, recognizing one another. And most likely, they're very much alike. That little child who does not worry about bills or health or disasters, but just is in the moment of realizing that what we have is this journey of play, of adventure, of learning, of how the teeter-totter goes up and down. And when that little soul, the little child looks at the old soul and sees that smile of warmth and knowledge and wisdom and peace, the little child knows that no matter what comes, that soul has eternity, has awareness, has guidance. So there's nothing to worry about. And you at your age gets to go over to the swing set and get on a swing and just start swinging up and down, watching those parts of you interact. And the swing gets to go as low or as high as you'd like it to go. Whether you want comfort or playfulness right now in your life, imagine what you would do if you had a long, high swing or just a short, comfortable one to watch those parts of you that have always been there relate to one another. And you see the laughter, you see the living in the moment, you see the mindfulness of them, but you also realize as you're swinging and watching them, how present you are, how mindful and present you can be when you're just enjoying the moment of whatever is unfolding. And we can hear with the challenges of some of us right now that this lifetime is an adventure of the ups and downs of a seesaw and the fun of a swing and the excitement of not knowing how high you'll go. And as you're enjoying this, you decide to go and join them in the center of the seesaw. So now you're at the core, watching the little child gleefully go up and down and feeling the presence of the old soul supporting, giving you wisdom, providing guidance. And the two on the sides of the seesaw merge with you as you walk away from the seesaw, feeling very balanced and complete, very committed to being present each moment that we're here on this planet, and being committed to learning about how to be impeccable with our word, how to tell our truth in a way that's in the best interest of ourselves and of others. And expanding that as the playground disappears, to knowing that we have not only the support of our ancestors, our spiritual guides, but we have the support of one another. And we're breathing in and breathing out, asking for that balance, allowing ourselves to receive, being comfortable in the giving, and also in the connection we feel with every person on this call, whether they're here today or on other calls. Sending healing and light first within your body and yourself, to the women here and all the loved ones that we're connected to, and beyond to the planet, to be that light, to be that guidance. So maybe smiling, knowing that we have so many resources available, and asking for help from one another and to our ancestors and our guides. Coming back to being here, feeling yourself connected to your feet, to the energy around you, to the energy that expands out the top of your head, to the world. And when you're ready, coming back to being here on the call.
Okay, so hi, welcome back, everybody. Janet, I just want to say I love the visual of that teeter-totter. When I was little with my sister, we used to go to a park, you know, those unsafe ones that most of us grew up in, where everything was made of metal and scalding hot. And we had this teeter-totter there, and obviously I was little, but I'm going to tell you that, when you were up in the air on your side, you were probably 10 feet off the ground. I mean, it was huge. And, one of us would always, the one that's lower on the ground, would step off, and then you'd fly down on the other side. And I kept seeing that over and over again while you were doing the visual of my little kid dropping off and me dropping from the sky and laughing. And I don't know why we didn't get hurt or break bones. We should have, but yeah, that's just a big, huge, warm and fuzzy for me. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm so glad you could be here, Lisa. I know with brothers, I thought only brothers did that. My brothers did that to me all the time. And I go flying off the back or whatever.
I think my little sister and I could have left her our own resources, killed each other at some point. We were just always at each other's throats. And, obviously we're older now and not capable of the brawl that we used to have, and it's not Colleen, just so you all know, it's my little sister Nalani. And but we're a little mellower now, but boy, yeah, cats and dogs. So Janet's going to take over, ladies. I'm glad to see you all. I've got to go it's tax season, so I'm going to step out. And Janet, I'm going to send it all to you.
Okay, sounds good. Lisa, good luck with everything.
I'll see you next week.
Okay, sounds great.
Call us, Marie, if you need us, please.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So I will pass the baton to you, Marie, because I think, are you good with doing this about, everybody changed places now, leading us on the no gossip and all of that right now?
Yeah, and today I really want us to interact a little bit more. I'm going to start with the word again, because the word is really what manifests. It's what we use to create. And it's so important because the words that we put into our actions resonates not just with us, but the long haul is all of those that are around us, that we touch, that we don't even touch. Erin, I was talking to her, I think it was Friday, and she was reminding me how powerful, because she and I all week have been reviewing the first agreement, which is to be impeccable with your word. And every time we visit it, something new comes up for us. And we have already, for our podcast, we had recorded already that episode. And at the end, we're like, we got to do it again. We got to do it again because there was more. She struggles with it a lot more. And so she's being very honest with that. And then I thought I had it down pretty well. And I realized, oh no, I so do not have this one down, because this is one that you will be working on for the rest of your life, because we're human. We're human. And the judge and the critic has a way of creeping into our minds and taking over. So I've come to understand that this agreement, as much as we want to master it, it's a lifetime. It's absolutely a lifetime of mastering, because you're working on it all the time, especially when you're having a down moment and you want to say something ugly, or you want to, that's when you need to practice it the most. And so it is a practice that it's kind of like yoga. You're going to have to, if you want your body to flow and be nice and happy, you have to practice it for a lifetime. So I wanted to, so the word, I wanted to emphasize how important the word is, because the word is, and so the word does, right? So what we say manifests, and it becomes into some form of an action, and it does have a consequence, whether it's positive or negative. But from there, I wanted to also connect it to the judge and the critic, because these two archetypes live within us. It's part of our nature to have them there, because that's how we were conditioned. That's how we were programmed. That became our book of law. And the judge and the critic sometimes has a way, or most of the time has a way, to quietly just kind of creep in and kind of piggyback off of your left brain more than the right. And it has a way of changing things, how you perceive, how you feel. And this weekend for me, it was definitely, I was feeling that, and the judge and the critic has a way of attaching to what we're connected to. At times it's the attachment, I want to say. We have these attachments. We create attachments for the work that we do, the attachments for our TV, our car, people. We form all kinds of attachments. And the letting go, sometimes it's not easy, right? But the judge and the critic always comes in. So when you need to let go, the judge is like bringing in that shame and that guilt for you to take responsibility for something that might not be yours, or I just lost my train of thought. My daughter's cat just came in, Luna. She distracted me. So Charlotte likes to chase after her, and Luna wants nothing to do with her because she's a cat. But she sees Charlotte there, and she comes in, and what does she do? She just like smacks her one. So I just lost my train of thought. Thank you, Luna. Anyway, getting back to that. So the judge and the critic is being mindful of the judge and the critic. And I actually pulled some stuff off from the companion, because he put in there for the judge, he said, the inner judge uses what is in our book of law to judge everything. This is why our book of law is so important. We do and don't do, everything we think and don't think, and everything we feel and don't feel. Everything lives under the tyranny of this judge. Very quiet, yet it has a way to creep in. So I wanted to give you some questions to ponder for yourself when you get a chance. And one of them is, how do you judge yourself? Because I found myself, trying to answer these questions, and few were easy and others were really hard, because the judge can be very subtle. You don't even realize it when it's creeping in. So some of the prompts that you can have when you're pondering this question is, am I a bad person? Because, I should be ashamed of myself because I am guilty of, or I'm so stupid whenever I think about these, because in the culture that I was raised in, which is the Latino culture, my grandmother used to use these kind of statements to hold us, to get us to do things. And so this pops up for me. And then the other question to ponder is, how do you judge others? Because I've gotten better at the judging piece, but I still judge, and then how do you judge others? And then the last thing that to consider is listing some of the mistakes that you've made in your life and how you judge those. So any thoughts, anything coming
Yeah,
up?
Marie, so it's interesting, and I think I've said this before, but because of COVID, I think we were all faced with that mirror of things mistakes we've made and all that. So I started making a list and burning them because I didn't want to carry this stuff
That's
around.
a great idea. I need to do
And the things I could remember, and then I'll go, okay, if that's still coming up, I'm going to write it again and burn it. Or then I go to deeper, like little kid mistakes I made, or things that I had buried down, and I don't want to carry those anymore. So I'm making it an intention. I don't want to carry those things, but I do.
That's a great idea.
I like doing it, but I think what happens now is if I feel uncomfortable, then I judge others. Like we were out on a hike and a guy turned when we had to cross one of the streets and almost hit us. And the words that came out of my mouth, I went, "Ooh, I even said I should not be leading a meditation today," with the words that came out of my mouth. Because it was because I felt like he was risking my life. So that's when I think I feel the most judgment is when I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. But do you see how subtle it is? If you don't stop and really, evaluate it and look at it within yourself, it's very subtle. You don't think much of it. Even some of the statements that we make, and I was just, like I had mentioned last week, it's like, "Oh, you're a pain in my butt." Even that kind of a statement has an impact.
Yeah.
Words are very powerful. In the book, he uses Hitler as the example of how powerful the word is. Right. And then last week, I used the example of Maya Angelou. I think of her words and how amazing they are and how they were powerful in a positive sense in creating change. Okay, so moving on to the victim. The victim.
Ilona has something. Ilona has something.
Yes. Sorry.
Well, I was muted, so I couldn't go, wait, so I'm just doing this. So in relationship to what you're just talking about and that judgment, one of the things that I'm more aware of, even more so now than before, is everyone has a story. And you don't know the story of the person that you're addressing when you're having a judgment. And I have two anecdotes to share with you from my past, right? And the one, I was really young. I was in my 20s, and it was with a early mystery school group. And I was the baby, and they were all like in their 60s, and I was this 20-something. And I was fresh out of social work school, and I had the fire of social work under me, whatever, and learning all these things. And so we're at the table having desserts. And I was working with psychotic and suicidal kids at the time. And so we had this discussion, and I'm like, well, kids need to have, they need to eat well, they need to have support, they need to have safety, whatever. And I'm on my high horse or whatever. And the one lady looks at me and she says, "During the war, my mother fed me with milk and water from a rag into my mouth. And that's how I lived." And I'm like, okay. You do, I was like, that was a really interesting, and as you were talking about it, I remembered that and going, well, that's egg all over my face, but it's also youth. It's also youth and just a lack of life experience. And so you learn that way, and so that really woke me up, and I really paid attention to that quite a bit. And then I sang in a classical music chorale for over 10 years. And I mean, this was a highlight of my life. We sang with the New York Philharmonic. We sang with the New Jersey Symphony, the American Symphony Orchestra. We actually were part of a group that sang with a Mark Morris dance premiere. And I mean, I had these tremendous experiences with the best musicians around the world, just being in this chorus, right? And so there was a friend I made, and we got friendly, and we were talking, whatever. And we're sitting at a bench somewhere. And I don't remember what we were talking about. I don't remember what it all was. But she looked at me and she said, "My ex-boyfriend killed my mother, my brother, and my sister. I escaped, and the man that I married took me in." I think she was complaining about her husband at the time who wanted a divorce. And then she shared this story. I mean, she went into hiding with this man's family before she eventually married him. And I just remember going, wow. And you came through that, and you're singing, and so I'm sharing those two stories with you because once you really pay attention to the fact that people have stories that you just don't know, it's a lot easier not to judge because you're just going like, I have no clue where these people came from or what they're doing. I also I've got a friend, just this lovely, lovely woman. I adore her. She was sold by her family for money and sent to the United States.
Wow.
You know, so I mean, if you really consider that life takes people wherever and karma pays off in ways that you can never imagine, and everybody will pay for what they've done, whether you see it or not, you stop judging and you just stay open. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you. Those are profound examples. But wow, did they give us a clear vision of that, of judgment? Anyone else wants to share?
Oh, good. Mimi.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So, over the weekend, I watched Gandhi. I don't know if you all have watched it or not, the original one. Wow, what a powerful movie to talk about judging. It calmed me down, I have to say. It calmed me down not to judge anyone and take everything with a grain of sugar, not salt. What a peaceful man. You know, all that demonstration for peace and no judging. And the way he turned the country, that was powerful. So I thought I'll bring that up. That was an awesome movie towards this subject.
Thank you. Yeah.
I agree, Mimi. You know, Nelson Mandela is the one I try to channel when I'm being judgmental. And I think of him being locked in prison. And I was in South Africa when apartheid was going on. And to know that the native African Americans were being locked away and people were being put in prison, and he came out and united the country. Yeah, these people that just have a way of going, I can change this. That's powerful and amazing. Yeah.
Sort of like a mantra, you know, you right when you start judging, what would he do if he was here? Or
Yeah, that's so cool.
Let me move on. The next one is the victim, and the victim carries the blame, the guilt, and the shame. It is the part of us that says, poor me, I'm not good enough, I'm not intelligent enough, I'm not attractive enough, I'm not worthy of love. This one for me resonates so much as part of that domestication, our programming, you know, because it's that you're only worthy, I will love you if, you know, and I have felt that from the very beginning, is that I'm not measuring up, I'm not good enough, that kind of thing. I think we've all in some shape or form have touched upon this one, and we carry this archetype with us. So it's a profound one, and it's a one that's hard to shake. I think we really do have to work at being very self-aware that we're not following it with this archetype of feeling that profoundness. I know for me, in this process, you know, of separation and then divorce, is that I noticed for my husband, what's been coming up for him is this sense of failure. He keeps saying, I'm not good enough, you know, and that's not how I've perceived it, but that's how he's been taking it on. And so the victim one is definitely a strong archetype that lives in all of us in some form.
And I think we know when we're doing it, if people are feeling like they have to rescue us, if we start feeling like people are saying, oh, they're trying to come up with solutions or do things like that, we're going, oh, I must be playing the victim. And if if you do the victim, you're eventually going to be the bad guy or be looking to be the rescuer. It's a triangle, a drama triangle. So I'm always teaching people, like, step out of it. Do not get into that mentality. Yeah.
Yes. And then being the victim also connects to these feelings of helplessness and hopelessness, and feeling powerless. And for me, last week I had mentioned that my inner child has been coming up through all of this. And really all of those is what I was feeling, that sense of helplessness as a child, hopelessness, and then feeling powerless to be able to change things as a child, right? So for me, it's very profound because I was a firstborn, I was parentified. So I had these adult issues as a child. And it's funny because I didn't think that was a part of me until I've been going through this process. I've discovered that, wow, I was a really scared kid and didn't even know it because I was making these huge adult decisions, scared out of my mind, but I had no recollection of how scared I was and how powerless I felt until I was going through this process. And here's my epiphany. This is why I'm going through this. Darn it, because I needed to connect with that. Right? Because, Ilona?
So in relationship to what you're saying, the victim really tells an enormous amount of lies.
Mm-hmm.
The perpetrator really judges everybody, but the victim tells a lot of lies. And some of them are conscious lies and some of them are unconscious lies. But when you're talking about being impeccable with your word, if you can't identify the truth from a lie, how can you be impeccable with your word?
Exactly. That's why it's so darn hard to practice this first agreement, right? So this is an archetype that I think it's wise for all of us to begin to explore, because we do have this dialogue with ourselves. And again, just like the judge, it's very subtle. I've noticed it, in this process, and what it's done is it's brought up that inner child. And as the adult, I've had to learn to begin to kind of, maneuver and look into it a little bit deeper and be in touch with this child and let her know, hey, we really are okay. And this isn't the way you thought it. And yes, you made scary decisions, but thanks to your bravery, we're here today. So it's that constant dialogue. But the victim is, I think, and you're 100% right, Ilona, it does lie to us. But it's also because it's attached to our ego. And our ego can be so fragile that way.
So the whole victim thing is if we decide that life has challenges and crap's gonna happen, right, Marilyn? And so crap's gonna happen. How are we gonna face it? How are we going to go forward? And then I'm not a victim here. There's an opportunity to grow, to learn, to try to change things, to face our fears, to show courage. That's the thing that I think if we could reinforce that, it would be really important to say, okay, because life it doesn't get easier, I don't think. And we can make it easier in our head by like going, okay, new chapter, something new, and challenge accepted, right?
Yeah. So we have these two archetypes that became part of us in our domestication, right? I think it's inevitable. We were born and we feel the weight of all of those expectations, and then our personality begins to form and take on these archetypes, and I can't say that, hey, we hold our parents 100% responsible, because they did the best that they could with what they had. So, but I think when it comes, this is leading me to the big piece, which is gossip. We didn't get to talk about it. And our domestication, our programming is, in combination with the judge and the victim and all these other agreements that we've also created for ourselves on top of these, is that it leads us to the gossip. And gossip is truly the poison. Because think about it, we're using our words. And our words have a lot of power. And when we gossip, it has the ability to impact and hurt, harm. So it really is, as stated in the book, it is the black magic.
So could you help us with like how Mimi and I were talking about people we admire? Is that considered gossip?
No, what it's talking about is when you're using words that are going against a person, because when you use it in harming another person, it comes right back to you. Which the word is not just using it against yourself, you're using it towards others, and that has that ricochet, it has that ability to come back and harm you. So when we speak ill will about someone, we are really hurting ourselves. But when we want to elevate someone and we speak with good intentions of someone else, that comes back on us because we are uplifting. I always think, Marilyn, this is when you say low vibration.
And Lynn's had her hand up for a while too, but.
Betty brought something up, I don't know, a couple weeks ago about the difference between processing and gossip. And I truly do not understand that. And I know like what you were just saying, that, I always try to keep my intention clear. And usually when I talk about someone, it's because my feelings got hurt. And I'm trying to understand, okay, why did this happen? Who is this? Why did they do that?
Yeah,
and
that's different.
And I want my girlfriends to be on my side, of course.
Well, but Lynn, what you just said, that's a part of gossip, wanting somebody to be on your side. In general, gossip is complaining about somebody else's behavior or somebody else's values or somebody else's beliefs, and not really addressing what's true for you.
Mhm.
And to me, the difference between simply stating a fact, right? This person has this is it, right? And not attaching an energetic emotion to it, but just stating a fact, allows it to be something that's on a table to be discussed, because it's on the table, it's a conflict, it's a confrontation, so let's just do it. But in gossip, nobody's really putting anything on the table. They're sitting around the table, avoiding putting anything on the table to actually be addressed. And they're engaged in a self-absorbed, self-preoccupied experience of how they've been affected by this particular relationship, situation, or environment. And not willing to take responsibility for their presence in it, or the consequences of their actions in doing it. And so there's a very big difference between processing a experience, a situation, a conversation, when everybody at the table is there talking about it. Not everybody else witnessing with opinions, but those who are actually doing the work.
So in the book, it talks about it as, gossip being emotional poison, because we are taught, to transmit it among ourselves from the very beginning and on. So that is the poison, is the fact that you're gossiping, and yes, nobody's stepping up and taking ownership, but it is this emotional poison that's being transmitted within that group, and soliciting that negative, not negative or positive, the attention that we are soliciting as a result of that is part of our ego, trying to elevate ourselves.
Right. So processing you do with a therapist, not with your friends or coworkers.
Or you do it with the person who wounded you or who you wounded.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's also the part of taking responsibility of what it feels like for you, talking about that emotion or whatever it is that's coming up, without, wanting like side with me, see my side. Because that's, in our field, we call that triangulation. It's bringing them in, right? This is more about, this is what came up for me. This is how I'm feeling. It feels awful. That's different from the gossiping. This is you acknowledging your emotional pain, the emotional poison that you've taken on.
Processing is always with the person that, okay. Well, I'm a gossiper.
I don't see how that's possible, Lynn. Sometimes people can hurt you to such an extent that you're not going to deal with them. And then you need to process what Marie's talking about, that poison. So I think there's a difference. I think you need to process. And if you can do it with that person, wonderful. But sometimes people you just don't want to deal with that person anymore. And
Yeah.
you shouldn't have to, but you
Right.
still need to deal with the poison in you.
Yeah. And you can say
Okay.
that processing is the antidote to getting rid of the poison.
Okay. Okay, I'm clear.
Marilyn wants to say something.
I have something that's helped me through the years with this one, is that I don't want to say anything that I wouldn't say if the person were there. Like if I'm talking to somebody else about it, because, and Sita and I have talked a lot about it, probably Adele and I too, trying to figure out how to be constructive. You need to talk about things to learn and be constructive, but you don't want to make assumptions. You don't want to, all those things open up. So one thing that kind of helps is I try to really have in my mind not to say anything that I wouldn't say in front of the person. It's almost like the computer thing. I never want to put anything out there that the whole world isn't going to, everything is out there. And that's, I think, the energy of words. So if you're talking in a way that isn't constructive, energetically, people are going to feel that. So I've learned to have, because I felt guilty trying to figure out anything, of course, because that's, but staying in a place where it's with the kindness that I would use if the person were in front of me, even if I'm upset about it, really has helped and keep me in a place of compassion, so that's kind of a helpful rule that I've gone by.
Marilyn, I've heard you, like you and I have been processing, and you'll say, I would say this in front of the person, and then you'd go into it. And it was a very cool way to say, I'm not trying to gossip here. I'm just trying to figure out my part or what was going on. And I think, I get that. Hopefully that's not gossiping, but I'd love to know what Marie says.
In terms of the gossip, for me, it's like if it's exactly that, when you're trying to triangulate someone to be on your side, or when you're saying it with ill intent, or even sometimes we're saying it with not having the ill intent, but it is definitely not uplifting that individual energetically. So I think this is where we need to be aware more of our vibration, because we don't want to drop into a lower vibration. I think this group would not have a problem with that, because we're definitely higher vibrating beings. But for me, I've been in conversations where I've heard and I couldn't stomach it. I had to just step out of it because it just doesn't feel good. But I think you have to have this level of awareness. And once you have it, it's very difficult to say, I don't have it. Because your whole body is saying, hello, don't do this, don't listen to this garbage.
It hurts. It's actually painful.
Yeah. When Trump was in office, I could not stomach listening to the man. I just could not, because it didn't feel good.
Right.
It's his tactic.
Mimi has something to say too.
I have a question now regarding this gossip. Let's say we're at a meeting, lots of people at a meeting, and the person who's talking, giving us all the negative stuff that we don't want to hear. Let's say it's the boss that's giving you all the negative stuff. The meeting is over and everyone is talking about what she said. And no one agrees. And at this point, I guess that's called gossiping. We're all talking about her, what the negative point was, and nobody wants to bring up that negative point to her. Is that still gossip?
Yeah, absolutely.
But nobody.
I would step in. There's this awesome book called Fierce Conversations, and how do you have difficult conversations like this in a respectful, professional way. But yes, that's absolutely gossip.
So how do you deal with this?
Lona.
But what you're describing is politics. What you're describing, Mimi, is politics, period. End of story. politics in a company, politics in a family, politics in a nation, politics in the world. Somebody puts out something and then there's all this flurry of activity about, do I agree? Do I not agree? Do I approve? Do I not approve? How does it help me? How does it, and then everybody's angling for, this takes you into power, greed, and lust. And generally all gossip is connected to power, greed, and lust. That's it. Right? Rather than sitting down and actually, you know, I was maybe in my early 30s, and there was a changing of guard in the residential treatment facility that I worked in, and they had the new boss. And I sat there in front of everybody, this little, excuse my language, a 30-year-old shit says in the middle of this meeting, and so what's your philosophy on childcare? What are we heading for? And you could have seen the mouths invisibly drop in every single person sitting at that table. And I literally wanted to know, what are we in for? Because you're taking over, you're going to do whatever the hell you want. And we've got all of these sick kids to take care of. And he stumbled to actually answer my question. And then afterwards, I got berated by my boss. Politics doesn't want to know the truth. It's all about the smoke screens that create the alliances and the allegiances that get forth the initiatives that can be brought through by the most powerful groups at the moment. And so if we're really going to understand gossip, there's a gossip that's personal and there's a gossip that's collective. And we have responsibilities in both of them. But recognize when you take responsibility and you leave that gossip world behind, the third dimensional world does not like you and does not want you around.
So Ilona, it's like, say you had a feeling about the orange guy that used to be around. If you had a feeling about that, is that gossip?
No, the feeling about an orange guy would be an intuitive hit. I'd need to pay attention. If I felt it was good, I would go up and introduce myself. If I feel it was bad, I would just avoid him. I don't need to know his story. My intuition has already said, this is a story you don't need to be part of. Move on.
So you just block that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gossip is using the word, using the power of the word in an ill way.
Okay.
At least that's how I perceive it. You know, but it's very hard not to, because it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
And I just wanted, well, like when you said that you were a little shit or whatever, Ilona, I'm going, well, then you were talking against yourself, right?
Well, at that moment, in that
In a good way.
room in there, you know, that's the way they saw me. That's the way they saw me. And I was just like, I'm fearless. I've always been fearless. But that's the reason why I just need to be the leader, not the follower. This is not good. If I'm a follower, it's just not good. So
That's so cute. That's so cute. Now we got to help each other with this, because it gets very like I'm in battle trying to figure it out sometimes.
Yeah.
I have two kind of mantras that I do, because I hate going into groups. And when I do, I get all agitated. And so I needed help. And so I came up with, and I'm putting it in the chat, but I ask, and I'm asking divine consciousness, that my every thought, word, deed, and action be filtered through your divine peace, love, joy, and compassion. And that, oh my God, has been so helpful, because it changes the whole vibration. It just changes the whole vibration. There's another one that I do when I know it's going to be difficult people. And it's, I ask that every interaction and conversation be of mutual benefit and for the greatest good of all involved. I can write that one down too, because I mean, me, the introvert and the empath, right? I'm like, okay, no, I love this pandemic. Just leave me here because I don't have to deal with anybody, right? But it's not true. I still teach and I still, you know, anyway. So that one is, I ask, wait, I got all tangled up in myself, so.
Yeah, if you
Sure.
type it, because I'm thinking even any of us who work with people to be able to have that mantra before we start a session or whatever
Yeah.
sometimes it's difficult. Yeah. That's a good one though, Marie. Thank you. I don't see you as an introvert. That's so funny, but I believe you.
Lynn, you had, oh, Marilyn.
Oh, I just, well, Lynn, do you want to go? Because I already talked.
No, you
about
go.
it. It just seems like the two levels, if it's political, I learned when we were up at one of the tree climbs, all these science guys that were so frustrated with the orange monster, and yet they didn't feed into it at all. And I remember talking to them and saying, aren't you frustrated because they're trying to replant the forest and they're not doing anything? And, and they just said, oh yeah, we know what's going on, but we can't waste our energy on that. We have to use our energy for replenishing. So it wasn't denial. And that really taught me something. So that just ragging on about politics, I couldn't do it anymore because I realized it was just, it was like feeding the beast in a way. So that was a big learning curve. The other thing on a personal level, in terms of gossip, you want to be so careful with it. But I finally learned, and it took a really long time, and it's later in life, that I have the right to discernment. I have the right to decide who, what, where, when. This event that happened a couple of weeks ago, boy, did it cement it, because, Harry's in the same place I am now, having gone through cancer. You wake up every day and it's like, you feel like you've been given this gift, and Harry's feeling that way too after what happened. And I think our choices are going to be even more narrow and expansive at the same time, because you just reach a point, being the youngest child and the way we were brought up, we didn't discern. We went whichever way the wind, and I think we're finally growing up to a place where, maybe some kids get it at 12, but we didn't. We have the right to discern. And it doesn't mean we have to badmouth anyone, or, my parents, everything and everyone is good until they're bad, and then that's it. Everything can be on a sliding scale and be comfortable, and then we can discern and choose. We don't have to demonize if it feels bad. It's okay, that's their thing. That's not comfortable for us in this place now. That makes it easier. So the right to discern.
Yeah, because protecting ourselves is being impeccable with our word, protecting ourselves from negative energy. Yeah, so I get that. Yeah, thanks.
Impeccable with your word isn't saying yes all the time, because that's not being impeccable. You're right, exactly. Yeah.
I was just gonna add a thought I had about the processing. If it's just going to the other person, to me, that involves confrontation. And so that'd be a big stretch for me. Like when my feelings are hurt, I don't know. I have to really think about this more. But yeah, but actually confronting somebody, and maybe confronting is not the word, actually discussing with somebody if it's even worth it. Normally, I just want to know, well, why'd you do that? Why'd that happen? No, mostly I don't understand.
Lynn, I think confronting is the right word.
Is
And
it?
it's really hard. It's really, really hard, because you have to confront to discuss. Because that person is generally not going to bring it up. Right. But but if you confront it and you put it out there, you're going to be free. No matter what happens, you're going to be free. And that freedom is priceless.
Okay. Thank you.
But one more thought just about that. I'm so into that one line, and I know I mentioned it before, that song, freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose.
I think that all the time.
It's so true. That's wisdom right there. And I didn't understand it until 50 years later, but it really is. It's like, what are you going to lose by trying to make it better?
That was Janis Joplin from me and Bobby McGee.
Yep.
I got to see her at the Powder Ridge Pop Festival in person, do that song. It's in my soul.
Wow.
Lynn, truth is part of being impeccable with your word. And I'm the first one to say sometimes the truth It is freeing, but it's hard to take it in. That's why this agreement is so hard, because sometimes we want to be in denial. You know, it's sometimes easier to stay in that bubble of denial than to accept the reality for what it is, to accept our truth. And this is what this first agreement is asking us to live our truth, because that is what frees us.
So can I ask you about like behaviors? Like I know some of us talk about having a happy hour or a glass of wine, and we know that that's not healthy, right? And so is that being impeccable with our word? Because it's a behavior that could be destructive or hurtful or.
Well, from my perspective, it's really subjective. If you're using it to be hurtful towards others, then yeah, you're not being impeccable with your word. But if you're having a glass of wine with dinner, you know,
It's okay.
glass
It's
of
okay. You give us permission.
well, I'll say, because you know, I'm part Chinese, so I've got the Asian gene. I literally, when the kids serve wine, they give me a shot glass because I'm out. Right, but it's how you choose to use it. If you're using it irresponsibly.
I also have a comment on that, because I think because it is so socially acceptable, we lose the awareness of why we're doing it.
Right.
So it can become just, oh, it's just happy hour. Oh, it's just, you know, with friends. But if you'd lose the awareness that you are habitually doing it more and more to numb or to relax because you've been stressed, well, then you're avoiding the real issue of what's causing you the stress. Maybe it is that uncomfortable conversation that you need to have, but you don't want to think about. So like Marie said, it depends, but just be aware of what behaviors you habitually do and why.
Yeah. And then part of the agreement here is to be aware of your intra dialogue, the conversations that you're having with yourself. You know, that's really what it comes down to. What are you telling yourself? This is why you look at your book of law and all of these agreements, because that's where the judge and the critic live.
What book of law do we have?
From remember the beginning of the book, that we create our book of law based on teachings, the domestication that we received, that great education.
Okay.
We received that when we became adults, we held up that book of law without hesitation. So really, you know, what it comes down to be impeccable with your word is really having a hard look at yourself with a kind, loving heart, because this isn't, you know, when you're looking at yourself, it's not looking at yourself with judgment or criticism. It's with kindness and with love. Because if we can get this agreement down, then the other three are not an issue at all.
Well, it looks like it'll take us some time. What, Ilona?
So, you know, the essence of kindness and love, that's a really important thing, but putting that into practice in a regular basis. So, you know, I don't have a traditional 3D life. I don't have a lot of traditional 3D friends. And so what's interesting is, you know, when you're talking about, and I don't drink because I don't like it. I don't have any particular, I just don't like it. And I have no tolerance for nothing. So, but I think the difference is, you know, the people that are my friends, the people that I'm connected to, when we get together, conversation is stimulating and it's interesting and it's fresh and it's exciting and it's always about something significant and valuable, even if we're just laughing. And the focus is always life-giving. And when you engage in relationships that are moving into that fifth dimensional resonance, you just stop talking about everything else underneath it because there's no reason to. It doesn't have any purpose in your life anymore. And so when you get together, the conversations are just lovely. I mean, think about everything that we do here every Monday morning. These aren't your typical conversations, but they're the life-giving ones.
Yeah.
And when you start living your life where these are the only kinds of conversations you have, life changes dramatically. And I mean, even with my brothers, it's positive, it's life-giving. My brother can be, my brother-in-law, my brother can be really judgmental, and I just go, and let me stop. We move on to something else. So it really is about the difference about the way that you start to even converse with other people. It changes.
Does. All right, let me give you this last section of the book, just because I love what he says. It says, be impeccable with your word. This is the first agreement that you should make if you want to be free, if you want to be happy, if you want to transcend the level of existence that is hell. It is very powerful. Use the word in the correct way. Use the word to share your love. Use white magic beginning with yourself. Tell yourself how wonderful you are, how great you are. Tell yourself how much you love yourself. Use the word to break all those teeny tiny agreements that make you suffer. Exactly what Ilona was saying. But yes, the first agreement is not the easy one. That he starts you with the most difficult one, and it's one that from my perspective, I think it's one that we will practice. For those that choose to practice it, you will practice it for the rest of your life. Because we're human.
Let's help each other, because, I think that we can learn from one another and help guide each other and give each other feedback, in these conversations or when we're talking one-on-one with one another. I would love the feedback.
Maybe Marie or all the therapists, how do you surface those little agreements that you made that are so judgmental? And how do you surface those? Well, you were talking about that earlier, Janet, where the negative thoughts. So how do you surface it consciously where you're looking at it and saying, that's the judge, that's the victim, let me disperse?
Honestly, it's a practice, Maribeth. I'm not perfect at it, but the conversations I have with myself in a negative manner are so far less than what they used to be before I started practicing this, because I used to be so critical of myself. I would look at every imperfection and I would just criticize. And that has completely changed. I'm not perfect because I still have my moments. And, and I still need help. This is why I go and get help, and process stuff, because I'm not a perfect being and I get stuck. I completely get stuck.
Ilona, you want to say something? Oh, Marie?
Marie, do you want-
Ilona first, yeah.
Whatever triggers you, Mary Beth,
Mhm.
that means an aggravation and irritation and frustration. Whenever you get triggered, the thing that you want to do is stop and you want to ask, is the victim or the perpetrator active here? And then you'll hear that voice and then you can start to fix it.
Same here. I don't use the word victim or perpetrator. For me, whenever I'm triggered, I know it's not about what's going on out there. And I use that opportunity to say, okay, what do I need to learn about me? What is it about me? And I go inward and I start to evaluate myself. Okay, why was I hurt? What was it about that? What was said? What is it about this event? What is it about that? What's going on? And what am I feeling inside? And then I start to ask the questions inside of what am I feeling?
Yeah, let me
to get to that self-awareness.
Yeah. So one of the things that I do with my clients, because I prescribe this book to everybody I work with, what I ask them to do is whenever they react or they're feeling themselves, activated, I always ask them, notice what part of that situation is about you. And then send what's not yours back and keep what is yours. And then ask yourself the question, what are the emotions I'm feeling right now? And then you ask, once you know the emotions, where am I feeling it in my body? And then you ask, when was the last time I felt like this? And you literally go, your mind will quickly take you to different places. And then you do the same thing for every single instance experience that you've had till you get to the root one. And once you get the root one, you totally get what that activation was about. And I know people are like, that sounds like it takes forever. It literally takes nanoseconds when you practice it.
Do you want to type it into the process right here? That'd be really cool, because I know
Thank
we
you.
used to have stop thoughts, and Mary Beth, it would be like you'd have a rubber band and you'd say, Janet, stop. But then I got to the point where I just say anything that when I was going negative, I go, Janet, stop, and it would stop. And then it gets to the point where it's as painful as gossiping. It becomes painful to think anything negative about yourself. And it's like, I can feel my brain just stop right now. It'll just, if I tried to do something negative, it just doesn't want to do it. It's like, no, I had enough years of that, right?
Yeah, I do cancel when I'm aware of a negative thought that has no, right? But it's usually when I'm half asleep or, that kind of thing. I'm thinking more of interaction. So thank you, everyone, very much. This is really helpful.
Getting rid of those past ones that we're holding against ourselves is really important also. It's amazing what we carry around that we don't need as we're moving forward. It's the Janis Joplin. Nothing else to lose, nothing else to carry. Yeah. So Marie, this was wonderful. Thank you for leading us in all of this. So now do we go to the next one, number 2, or should we stick with this for a while and practice it?
It's been endless, because I mean, this one's like the super hardest one, but we can move on to the next one, because you'll see how this one will still continue to pop up through the rest.
And is it don't take anything personally, or is it the other one?
The second one is do not take things personally. Yeah.
How fun, how fun.
Okay, so I put the questions up there for you on the chat so you guys can get it. But that's literally, this is what I do when I'm reacting or, feeling activated. I ask myself, and literally the more you practice it, it just really quick, nanoseconds.
I'm gonna take a picture of it. Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to just say? Because I know a few of you didn't get a chance to talk. Would you like to say anything before? No, no, no. Oh, Sophie does. Or you're saying goodbye. She's going to get off mute to talk.
Yes, it's the cat. The cat howls a lot. It has to be on mute. It's like howler monkeys in my house in the morning. I found it interesting. I see a lot of what, broadly speaking, what I've read up to this point is reflective of so many other approaches for treating trauma. Someone referenced the body keeps score. I think maybe Marie. Was that? And I guess it's same information, some of it, but phrased or put in a different way. As an example, what we just did what we just talked about, noticing what part of the situation is about you, what are the emotions, where do I feel them, and when did I feel them before? That's interesting. It's kind of also, in my experience, something that is part of the Curable app module. And there's actually every day you can do this thing about where do you feel it when it happens, and it is really quick, and it is really effective. So I just want to say that I find this it's drawing from a lot of different places. I don't know if it draws. Maybe it's seminal. Maybe everybody else is drawing from this, but in some way. But I find it interesting, and I've used some of these things, and I can say that, yes, it is really helpful. And with respect to people, we're going to be talking next week about it not taking personally, but we sort of touched on it a little bit, because somebody said, you don't know where that person's coming from, basically. And this is what I always tell my child. I always say, you don't know what kind of day that person had. You don't know where that person came from. It's not usually about you. So I just wanted to say that was very helpful. Thank you, everybody.
And thank you, Sophie. That's so true. If we knew if we had lived inside their shoes, we'd know exactly why they were saying or doing what they were doing. So it's great if we can get past that judgment. Thank you. And so you said the curable app, Mary Beth. Wonderful. Thank you. There's an app for that. And
Oh,
I think
Yeah,
when Betty
that's what
was here,
Sophia said. Yeah,
what'd you say, Mary Beth?
that's what Sophia said. She's used the curable
Oh,
app.
thank you. Oh, thanks, Mary Beth, for doing that. And I think even Betty was saying that a lot of this is from the Buddhist religion too. And so in probably the Bible too. So
And to be honest, in our field, all of these concepts, they've been around forever. The thing is that every different way it's reworded or said in a different way is because it's speaking to different people. Not everybody speaks with the same type of language. And so, I may be saying it this way, but Janet might come up with a better way that somebody else will go, oh, I totally get it. So it's the same information, just presented in many different ways.
I'm catching you, Marie. She didn't come up with a better way. She just came up with another way.
different. I know we were on the same page. It's different. Anybody else want to say anything before we get off?
Good morning. Good morning. Great discussion.
Yeah. It's so wonderful to be with each and every one of you. And thank you for joining us and being a part of this. And we'll go on to not taking anything personally on this adventure of life. Thank you so much, Marie, and good luck tomorrow. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
bye.
Bye. Lynn, could I talk to you for a minute? I don't know if anybody else is going to be staying after. Oh, maybe I think it's Mary Beth and they stay after. Well, yeah, I'll call you on the regular phone.
Okay.
All right.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
We can leave.
Oh, if I end the meeting, then everybody will be gone. All right.
Okay.
I just wanted to tell Lynn, because she's been such a part of Megan getting pregnant, that it has taken.
Congratulations.
I know.
Is it 2?
Well, so we'll know on Tuesday. She goes to see if it's 2 or 1. But her numbers to me look like 1 because they double a lot if you have more than 1 baby. Yeah, but so she came this weekend. Jeffrey came down from Utah, and I